8:55 Eastern Time, and Columbia and its affiliated stations bring you Elmer Davis and the news.
Europe has had all day to think over Hitler's speech, and tonight there seems to be equally no prospect of peace or of any real beginning of war in the West just yet. Apparently, Europe may go on some days in this state of peaceful war after years of warlike peace. Our Berlin correspondent, Mr. Schreier, reported earlier this evening that the Germans don't expect definite Allied reaction within a week, and the British say that the Chamberlain government will give Hitler's speech careful consideration in association with France and the Dominions. That, too, will take some days, and there's talk of counter-proposals. Yet nothing comes out of London or Paris to indicate that the British and French can seriously consider Hitler's offer, in effect, that they can have peace only if they will recognize the permanent domination of Eastern Europe by Germany and Russia, and will give back Germany's colonies besides. The British official statement today said that Hitler promised no reparation for the wrongs done to other peoples, an implication that the Allies are still holding out for the restoration of Poland and of Czechoslovakia, too. Well, of course, Hitler doesn't recognize these as wrongs. He said as to Poland that Germany and Russia will contribute to the welfare of the peoples living there, but will tolerate no interference. And he painted the Bohemian Moravian Protectorate as a happy land of peace, prosperity, and increasing brotherhood. The Czechs tell a very different story. The effect of the speech on European neutrals was naturally varied. The smaller neutrals don't seem to want to say much about it, in spite of Hitler's reiterated promise that he would respect the frontiers of all his neighbors. The Russians like the speech, of course. Unofficial comment calls it clear and precise. All the Russian radio stations were silent today so that the people could listen to the man who not so long ago was calling the members of the Russian government the blood-stained scum of the earth. Rome dispatches say that the speech is regarded there as strong, substantial, and constructive. But there's no indication that Mussolini is going to do anything to push Hitler's peace offensive for him. Among the smaller neutrals, about the only positive action was that of Turkey, which has definitely indicated that she will stay neutral even if Russia joins in the war. This is not so much as the British and French hoped for before the Russo-German agreement, but it's a good deal more than they seemed likely to get a few days ago. One curious passage in Hitler's speech aroused a good deal of uneasiness in the Balkans. He spoke of the splinters of German nationality, a phrase he's often used before, especially in Mein Kampf, in Eastern and Southeastern Europe, and said that a resettlement would be undertaken, which sounds as if he meant to bring them back to Germany. Now there are 2 or 3 millions of these Germans living in foreign countries there, in Hungary, Romania, Yugoslavia, and particularly. Most of them are descended from Germans who've been living in those parts for centuries, and they might not like to leave their homes and go back to a Reich which has so often been described as already overcrowded. The attempt to take them back further might cause all kinds of dislocation in the Balkan countries. Romania tonight took a step towards clearing up its own minority situation by granting to the 400,000 Ukrainians living in the country the same rights that had earlier been accorded to other nationalities. This presumably being the effect of Russia's taking over the Ukrainians of Poland. Romania, which already has a dispute with Russia over the Bessarabian question, doesn't want to give the Russians any further excuse for intervention. In Washington, the Senate went on talking about revision of the neutrality law, but there, too, there was an impression of marking time. 12 of the isolationist senators met and said that there were only 2 points in the administration's program that they oppose: repeal of the arms embargo and the 90-day commercial credit to belligerents. Another indication of the difficulties confronting American neutrality is seen in the statement of a spokesman of the British Admiralty saying, Britain cannot accept the fundamentals of the American safety belt. It might bar belligerent activity on routes leading to the British colonies. Well, of course, that was one of its purposes. In fact, its main purpose, to bar belligerent activity of all sorts inside that belt. Now, today, we were reminded that it was an anniversary. 21 years ago today, the German government sent a note to President Woodrow Wilson asking him to stop the war, and within 5 weeks, the war was over. There was at that time a corporal in a Bavarian regiment at the front in Belgium who could never make up his mind to accept the defeat of Germany. Today we all heard him tell the victors in the last war that they could have peace in this war on his terms. This is certainly a success story unparalleled in modern times.
This is the Columbia Broadcasting System.